podcast, radio and stuff.
The podcast ethanda wonke umuntu igama layo podcast radio and stuff. Siyayiteketisa ke, sometimes we call it PRS. That is when we choose ukuthi siyiteketisa. Welcome to today's beautiful show. It's just going to be beautiful because we have a radio person and it's just going to be fireworks in the studio.
You know what excites me about today's episode?
What is it?
Majority of our guests, not of our guests, of our viewers are male, who are our age.
Yeah.
Our age group, 30s. That's majority, bulk. Okay. In fact, over 80% of our people that watch this podcast are men. Which I find it surprising because I thought we were good looking. We attract a lot of women, but hey, here we are. So I suspect today we'll get a lot of ladies who will be tuning in.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, I suspect we'll get a lot of ladies who will be tuning in because of our guest.
I totally agree, because he's a man who is loved by the ladies.
100%. Hello, welcome to it. I'm Daviola Ramputa. Thank you so much for subscribing. Those who have subscribed, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe. In fact, help us get to 10K. We are currently sitting at just over 6,000. Subscriptions. So please help us get to 10K subscriptions. Majority, in fact, 80% of people, just over 80%, I think, watch the podcast without subscribing, which is quite sad.
Yeah, I think sometimes people just don't get it with him. Subscribing is absolutely free.
Absolutely free.
Yeah, so it's absolutely free. We encourage you to subscribe. And that will also assist you with Himanga Beguna, something that we drop. You are able to get a notification and then you are able to watch it.
100%. Once you've subscribed and you've decided that you absolutely love this content, you want to contribute to this podcast getting great or growing, you can join as a member. If you join as a member, you contribute only 9.99 rands, and that money goes towards making sure that this podcast continues to grow and it continues to give you great guests like we have today. Comment, like, share with your friends, and do all those right things that we like when you do. But let's talk to our guest.
Yeah, and he's the man who gives us adults radio for the young at heart.
100%.
We love him for his great voice and great radio. Nowadays, it's important to marry the two. To marry the great voice and great radio. There were times where people would just use their voice as the advantage.
Yes.
But this man, he's able to marry the two. His name is Daviola
Ramputa.
Wow, guys. I'm flattered just to listen to you guys go on and on. I never get to hear such being spoken about me, and I really appreciate you guys are doing a great job, and I wish you all the best. And yeah,
thank you, Buddy.
Thank you. You are also doing a great job.
Wow, thank you.
When I'm speaking for myself, when you are a radio lover, because I'm a radio lover, I love listening to radio, and when mention igama lomsakazo othile uthi ngiyamazi, that means lo muntu wenza umsebenzi omuhle for us people who are in radio. Because when we were just planning for guests and your name was in the list, it was easy for me to say, I know Daviola, I listen to Daviola. So because you are doing a great job.
Oh, thank you, guys. I'm speechless. Like I can't take compliments. I'm very bad, maybe because of when good things are said about you, you don't even know what to say. I'm really honored to also be here, and I normally obviously check your podcast because it has to do with radio. I'm a radio fan. I have been a radio fan in my early teenage years. I'll tell you the story, how it started, and yeah, maybe I can take it over.
I think this is where we should be starting, and you have started at the right place. I love the fact that you said you loved radio from when you were a teenager. Radio has attracted different kinds of people in terms of people who work there. Some people are in radio by chance. Some people are in radio because they loved radio, just like yourself.
Yeah.
They started listening to radio at an early age, and they started to imagine themselves also being part of this space. Maybe let's start there.
I always get emotional because the person who introduced me to radio is my late dad. And in a funny way, my dad, whether late as in time-wise when he prepares to go to work, he would switch on a radio. And he would listen to the news. Obviously, it's playing in the house while he's doing his thing, preparing. Obviously, myself, my siblings, we are also getting ready to go to school. And you get to hear the traffic, the trains, because Bazalbe today used to catch trains. And you would get to hear the weather, the music. So all that like sets the mood for the day. That's how I remember radio. That's why for me to be on radio, it was important because it gives that homely vibe of being at home. Everyone is listening. No one is really talking unless if you are asking about something. Maybe you are looking for your shirt or your shoes. So it's a great way of remembering my dad. Since when he's late, may his soul rest in peace. And I wish he could have had a chance to hear me on radio. But sadly, it happened that 20-something years later, that's when I can be on radio, but he's gone. Yeah.
Now, because that is how you have started, so where is this dream being planted into you? So I'm trying to ask, so where were you born?
Okay, I'm originally I was born in Mabopane Clinic. It's in the north of Pretoria.
Okay.
So it's Mabopane, like the townships around Pretoria is Mabopane, Soshanguve, Atteridgeville, Mamelodi, obviously Mamelodi.
Everybody knows Mamelodi. Yeah.
So I was born in Mabopane, and from Mabopane, my family moved to Soshanguve. So between Soshanguve and Mabopane, that's where I actually attended primary school in Mabopane, Dichaba. That was the primary that I went to. And later on, I had to move to Soshanguve to also join my family because when they moved, I had to stay with my grandmother, that side. So that's how I grew up, obviously, around family. And then at some point, I stayed with my late grandmother, who gave birth to my dad.
Okay.
And learned humility, respect, a lot of being down to earth. I learned from my grandmother, and also not being loud, because my grandmother used to talk very softly. So
grandmothers have actually contributed a lot to many lives.
A lot. Yes. So I'm a product of grandmother, and taught us how to pray. All those little things that are very important, obviously, as a young teenager.
So your entire schooling life up until matric,
I was staying it's in Pretoria, staying with my grandmother, and because I'm someone who likes radio, I applied to study at one of the colleges in Johannesburg. They accepted me.
Okay.
And
to study what?
To study radio.
Okay.
Now, I also applied to study interior design, and now that's now in Durban.
Okay.
So once they've replied, this site in Durban, I had to now decide whether I'm going to do radio first, studying or do I do interior design? Now, another aspect about me, I studied in a technical high school, Soshanguve Technical High School. That was my high school. I did drawing, building. I'm very, very good with that. I'm not going to lie. And that's another stream of life that I'm currently actually working in. So I had to make the difficult decision. And I'm going to say I made the right choice. I studied interior design. I had to put the radio side on hold. Then studied interior design. And the rest is history. That's how I ended up in Durban.
So why do you say you think you made the right choice by pursuing interior design in terms of studying versus radio?
I'm going to be honest. Sometimes you need to look at something that's more steady. Because as we know, radio is very tricky in terms of obviously contracts and in a lot of times you might not make it. But I had to choose something that's more stable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Growing in Pretoria, I'm interested in knowing which radio stations were you listening to there?
Wow. There was the most famous. They used to call it TNT radio.
Okay.
When I was younger.
So in full, what was?
I was still doing grade.
So TNT, was it an abbreviation?
Abbreviation of Technicon Natal. Before TNG, because it became Technicon something. Or TUT, TUT, yes.
TUT,
It became TUT now. Now it's called TUT.
Okay.
University of Tshwane, something like that. Yeah. There was that TNT radio where the likes of DJ Spoo, Ashifa Shaba, quite Greg Maloka, I think also he popped in there. I was still very young. I was 14, 15. I used to sit there and watch these guys do their thing. Like literally watch them. And luckily they would allow you to sit in your corner. They would tell you, don't make noise. Just sit there. So I used to sit there and watch them do their thing. I was learning.
And this guy used to stand in the window.
Oh, yeah. I see.
Road.
Yes.
Number 100 Oldford Road. That's what it was called back then.
Yes.
So abantu abanjengaba bethanda radio babefike bame windy.
Yes.
Babukela ulakhe sifathe sakasa.
Never even thought I would be probably even working with the likes of Lucky Sfats. Yeah. So I was like a sponge in water, sucking. And I thank all the guys that allowed me. And there was another guy by the name of Zakes. I don't know what happened to him, but he was friends with Ashifa Shaba, if you know Shaba. He was one of the guys
Shaba, but from
TV, yes. I actually, the way I was so intrigued with these guys, I ended up even having Ashifa Shaba's number. And they allowed me and my cousin, because my cousin is very good with music. My cousin Jimmy, he's very good with drums, all sorts of instruments. So we started even a band, me and him, and using that band to even record jingles. Because we asked Zakes, can we do a jingle for you so that you play it? And then when we get home, we tell them that our jingle is going to be playing on radio. And we do like songs, short songs. And then he would play the songs while he's starting his show. So that's how the whole thing actually now starting to say, oh wow, we're actually on radio, just to hear yourself doing that jingle. For us, it was like the world. So that's how it started. And then another big moment was when YFM was starting. That was now the biggest thing, because now it introduced Road Boy Paul Fresh, all the big stars, Sisi Shembe, all of these guys. So that's where now I started seeing that these guys were at this radio station. Now they're at YFM. I didn't try that much at YFM because I was actually maybe also trying to make sure that I study.
Sure.
So, but I enjoyed YFM. Even when I moved to Durban, I still followed what was going on at YFM. But eventually I said to myself, let me start looking for something around Durban. I'm not going to lie. I did try it, Gagasi. And I always say, radio, I thank God I didn't start radio at that time when I was younger. I don't think I was going to be the person I am now.
Sure.
And everything needs timing, but don't give up. So the timing when it's right and the moment is right, it will happen. That's the situation.
Sure. Can you just go back a little bit, Daviola? You mentioned that you had an option whether to study. I suspect it's at Boston. Am I wrong? No.
It was Rosebank.
Rosebank, okay. Whether to study in Rosebank, radio, or come to Durban for interior design. You chose coming to Durban for interior design. Why Durban? That's the first question. And why interior design over radio? You did mention that it's stable, but what else?
At that time, I could see my results and schoolwork was very good in terms of drawing. As I'm saying, I'm very good with drawings and design. And sometimes the low-hanging fruit, and that's easy for you. Rather start with that. Because sometimes you might follow something that's too far-fetched. You might not make it.
Okay.
So something that's more closer, it's easier to get it. And then once it's in the bag and you are sure about it, you can now go for the one that's way too far for you to reach. So it's decision making. And that's something that I sometimes see a lot of youth especially. They want to try and do things that are far-fetched and they leave the low-hanging fruit. I don't know if it makes sense, if I put it that way. And to me, it makes sense. And I'm someone who's very independent. I try to make decisions and think hard about them, not influenced by friends. I make my own decisions because I want to do them, not because the next person is doing something and then I get carried away with the decision that the friend is doing. So it makes sense to me that way, yeah.
But I fair, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But Daviola, you are 17 at that time. You just completed matric.
Yes.
17, 18.
Yep.
I'm saying this because the two of us completed matric. And the only thing we wanted to do is radio.
It's radio, yeah.
So whatever that we did at that time was, we have this goal, radio. That's where we wanted to go. And in radio, unfortunately, it's not like Ugo Tish.
Yep.
And there are many other talented people. So the space is very competitive. And it doesn't mean because now you're talented, you will make it.
Yep.
You know. But at that time, that never crossed our minds. How did you come to that decision?
So much wisdom at such a young age. I get you.
I think also it helps to know your character. I'm a very reserved, shy person. And then most of the time when I look at things like interviews and when people go out there, I would see that I won't make it now. It's something that I knew that there are people who are not shy like me who probably are doing something. Then you already know you must understand your character. That's important. Know your character and know your limits. And that's why I'm saying timing, and it's important. So that's something that I worked around, especially when I was growing up. And one of my uncles that I used to hang around with, he came from Venda to come and stay with me and my grandmother. I learned so much from him. Music-wise, I'm very versatile when it comes to music.
Singing or listening?
the type of music that he used to listen to.
Oh, okay.
Music can teach you a lot of things. For the type of music that I play on radio, on the show, it's music that I learned 20 years ago. When around that time. That's why now it's easy. It's like a playground for me. So that's why it was easy for me to have a character at that young age. So sometimes influence of guys that are older than you, it's very important, especially if they are guiding you in stuff that's relevant for you as a young person. The problem is now when you are younger, sometimes you are hanging around with the young blood, and is the blind leading the blind? It can be very tricky territory for someone who's young.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's very important that you surround yourself with influence that's gonna take you somewhere.
Yeah. And you studied in interior design, later when?
Yeah, it was when I came. It was Technical Natal.
Okay, now known as DUT.
And then moved to obviously the DIT, DUT. All the changes, I was within the structures when it happened.
Okay.
And then finished my diploma. Started working as an interior designer. Funny enough, I designed the studios of Gagasi. I was part of the design team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was way back.
Yeah.
And I was so excited when we did that.
That must have been big.
Oh.
And you love radio.
Even my ex-boss, he knew. And I remember when I was part of the presenting team for the design. He actually gave me like a section to say, talk about the design. So I was so excited. They were still at the other studios. So it was a dream come true. I felt like I was, because I love radio. So it was something else.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
No, so the studios that you designed, not the ones when they were in town, but for
After when they moved from town, that moved to Mhlang.
Yes.
I was part of the design team. So, it was a dream come true.
Wow.
It felt like I was actually working on radio, and it was fun. It was fun for me. So I'll never forget that experience. Fast forward to that.
But still on that one, how did you manage to be professional? You know what I'm saying? Being professional. Now you kind of have access to some people who are influential within Gagasi because you were there designing, but you were there wearing a different hat.
Yeah.
But the temptation will always be there to say,
yeah,
is this not the right time for me
I'm not gonna lie,
to present myself?
It actually gave me access to them, the guys, because sometimes when there's a site meeting, I would sneak off, end up walking around, and that's when I met. I must say, this was an opportunity that actually led me to know King's Fiso, Mzokoloko, Loiso. Loiso was the sound guy.
I remember Loiso.
You remember Loiso?
Well, yeah.
Loiso played a very... Fast forward, Loiso played a very huge role in me being at Vuma.
Okay.
He knows why.
Yeah.
He did. I think at some point he went to Metro.
Yeah, he left Gagasi.
Yeah, now he's doing farming but anyway. So those guys started knowing them from there. So that's how I met with some of the guys. Yeah. So yeah, it really.
So it did work in your favor, being in that environment.
It did, because after knowing some of the guys, we ended up in contact going forward. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. So you work in corporate, and we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
And how do you get into radio?
How? Radio. There was auditions at Inanda. Before Inanda, let me start before Inanda.
Okay.
I did try at Vibe.
Vibe FM.
How I ended up trying Vibe, Sizwe Blose,
Okay.
Happy Girl. They used to have a slot. In
Yes.
fact, Sizwe had a show. Happy Girl used to come and play. So
Entertainment Summit.
Entertainment Summit. That was big. And Entertainment Summit, Happy Girl was still starting out.
Yeah.
I was DJing myself. I taught, self-taught. And when Happy was also playing, we used to share sets. I would play, she would play. Me, remember now, I'm trying to get into radio, but I looked at something that's next to radio. That's DJ.
Okay.
That's how now I'm trying to build the brand Daviola. I'm trying. And I'm now I'm way better because I know how to DJ, and I used to do some like clubs, a lot of clubs. Remember Zigzag?
Yes, it was in Bria
Bria Center.
Yes.
That was my residence. Played there for quite some time, and then the brand also is growing. Shared stages with your Christos and the guys. Sometimes there and there would get a gig. And later on, Inanda FM, they were having auditions. When they were having auditions, programs manager was the late Victor Rose
Jr.
Yeah, may his soul rest in peace. That's the guy who saw something in me. I'm not gonna lie. He saw something. And he gave me a chance. They were younger guys. At that time, I was 30 something. That was 29, 30. Yeah, somewhere there. He gave me a chance. The rest of the guys, they were very fast. They wanted to do the cozy style. Mina, I'm like, nah, this is not me. I was trying that, but it was not working out. And he said to me, dude, just take it easy. You are yourself. Just be yourself. Those were the most comforting words. And just like how I'm talking now, I kept doing what I was doing. And I think there was 20 of us when we actually did the whole thing. Out of that 20, there was 4 people left. I was amongst the 4.
Wow.
The other lady, I don't want to say her name because she was in, and then she worked and then she left, so, whatever reasons. And then the other guys stayed in technical. I still see them, the guys on Facebook. And voila, got a chance. I started working with Amanda, was co-hosting.
Okay.
And then for some reason, I didn't co-host that long. They gave me a show, early hours in the morning. It was around midnight to early hours. Started there, make mistakes, learn. Then I was offered a show because Amanda was leaving for Ukhozi.
Was it Amanda Kanyile?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen her.
I think she's in marketing now with Ukhozi.
I think so too. Yeah.
Okay.
So I did that show the longest time. If I'm not mistaken, I conceptualized the show myself. The last time I checked the show, it was sort of working the same format, I guess. Okay. Yeah, so did it for 4 years.
Which show is this?
The World Music Show.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, on Sunday.
On Sundays.
Sunday
I did for 4 years, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was not in the evenings back then. It was just after Usis Mapule. They started 6 to 9.
Oh, it was
so
in the morning.
I was 9 to 12.
Yeah, because now it's on Sundays in the
evenings, yes.
From 6 to 9.
Then the name I came up with that.
Yeah, so it's still the same name. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
I enjoyed the show, and I did it for 4 years, and in that 4 years, we had a wonderful time. It was only Sundays, didn't stress me a lot, so I enjoyed it. Then from there, obviously, radio, you want something, a bigger fish.
Yeah.
And tried to now get into another bigger radio station. And Vuma was the next big fish. And send stuff. Loyiso. Spoke to him sometime, and then, no, don't worry, bro. It will happen. And he was at Vuma. So kept on trying and kept on trying. Recently, I was actually checking the emails that I used to send to Vuma. The late Patrick Bohatsu. Eventually, he responded, and I ended up being at Vuma.
Okay, what did he say in his response? Do you remember?
God.
I'm just
He was
trying to get to know, I've applied, and I've never been called. So I want to know what about
okay.
I'm trying to excite myself here.
I sent an email. I'll tell you, I was looking at the dates. It was 2017. They only responded in 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did he say?
He said to me,
okay.
He used to like to say, hey, Mnumzan. Something like that. Hey, Mnumzan.
All right.
And then he switched because he used to, no, he speaks Setswana.
Okay.
So I speak Setswana as well. But yeah, he was like, can you come to Vuma FM? I'm shocked. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come and see me at my office.
Yeah.
At this time.
Okay.
I said, definitely, I'll be there.
All right.
Then that's how I came, and the rest is, yeah.
And then he was there to offer you something.
Yes.
Now, it's every presenter's dream come true. They become excited. We become excited for them to get a breakthrough into commercial radio.
Yep.
How did it feel?
It felt like I was dreaming, but it's the very same thing I've been waiting for, for the longest time. And I didn't even know what to say because I prayed about it. I'm like, sometimes patience, you just need to be patient. And if I tell you that the whole process of being a Nanda for 4 years, it was 10 years of just waiting. Because remember, from my 20s, from after varsity, I've been looking for the radio gig. So that's 10 years. Then I started at Nanda.
Yeah.
Then 4 years later, Evo. It's been, this is my 6th year. Vuma. So all in all, my radio career now, including Nanda and Vuma, it's 10 years. So even this interview happens after 10 years. I waited 10 years.
Now.
No, man. I'm far from that. I don't like titles like
10
that.
years in the industry.
No, man.
We care.
I'm still learning. I'm still learning.
Sure. What about that vibe? You didn't tell us. You said you tried.
I guess everybody is looking for something that they're looking for. Probably I was not what Obafo was looking for.
How's this? Lucky. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned, I want us to get into language.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned that when you were at Nanda and babesakaza ngendlela ehlukene, and you said abaningi babenza ukusakaza locals.
Yes.
Babegijima mangabe besakaza.
Yeah.
But when I walk
Yeah.
I want to link that with language. So, usa KZN.
Yep.
Pretoria boy. In KZN, we speak IsiZulu.
IsiZulu, yes.
How did you, and proper IsiZulu.
IsiZulu, yeah.
So how did you adjust? Ukutheni njengamanje awusakhulumi isiZulu sasePitoli.
Esingiphendule ngesiZulu. Look, when you are in Rome, you have to try and do what the Romans do. So I mean, ngise KwaZulu Natal, ngise KwaZulu. I'll have to try ukuthi ngibe umZulu ngesizulu sami esincane esiunderstandayo.
Sure.
And I still do that even now because I believe in languages. I love languages. I love Swahili. I love all African languages. So isiZulu asikonzima kakhulu as long as uzama and you respect the language. The language will also respect you back because people will help you.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell people, Ore, if you want to know Sesotho, Setswana, khuluma. Speak something out of Sesotho. Hore batho ba kgone ho thusa. And hore wa pallwa ke ho bua. Le isiZulu kanjalo, abantu bazokusiza. There would come a time where I'm never offended because if you are helping me out, you are teaching me. So I'm getting lessons for free. So that's how it is. That's how I look at it. And I don't get offended. At some point I used to. And karedu, bekunzima. I don't want to lie, because sometimes you'd be sidelined because how yeah. And you would feel it. Yeah, but you just move along. Just life goes on.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think having a surname
Oh, Ramputa.
is not helping.
It's not. And sometimes you always tell yourself, I'm not doing it for whoever is not liking me. I'm sagazing for the person who's listening. So that's how I overcome things.
What are some of the challenges you faced because of your surname?
I think I don't look at it as a challenge. Okay. I look at it as that's how life is. We are all different. Even the one Onenkinga with my surname, they have bigger problems. So I just overlook such things.
So is Daviola your ID name? Is it in your ID?
No. I'm actually, my name is David Mokheti Ramputa.
Okay.
Those are my full names in the ID.
So Daviola
is a stage name.
Okay.
Taken from David, but obviously omitting some
okay
letters to come up with something that sounds sexier than just David.
I love the choice of words.
Sexier. How many languages do you speak?
Setswana. I studied Setswana in primary, and then because I moved from one primary to the next. So the other primary, it was Setswana when I started grade 1, Sepedi, to all the way to matric. Vendor, the Kwamba. I'm actually a vendor.
Okay.
A vendor guy, yes.
IsiZulu
naso ngiyasikhuluma.
Yeah.
And ngiyas-understanda kakhulu.
Yeah.
Don't ever try and say uzohleba ngami. I've been here for like 21 years.
English.
Yeah, English. Afrikaans there and there. Okay. I even struggled at school.
So we can safely say 5.
Yeah, look, boSixhosa, Sindebele. Because when I was younger, I actually grew up KwaNdebele, Mpumalanga. Okay. So I pick up a lot of Sindebele.
So you can hear.
Yeah, it's Nguni.
Okay.
The Nguni language is the same, man.
Yeah, I think it's a blessing to be able to speak 5 languages. I can only speak 2 languages. IsiZulu.
Yeah, when I go exam, my language is so failing.
Which is IsiZulu. And English, that I can struggle through. Yeah. You know? So yeah, IsiZulu. So
yeah, but with languages, as I was saying,
now
just throw in
what I want to drive to. I learned the hard way. You know, this thing of closing yourself into a container, a particular language sometimes is not so ayoba. I had to go and do some facilitating in the area of Northern Cape. When I got there, the only language that was spoken there was
Afrikaans and Tswana.
And Setswana. Those are the 2 languages. And facilitating in English was a struggle.
Yeah.
But anyways, I had to pull it through.
I feel for you, eh?
Yeah. Can I defend us as a Mazulu? I haven't done this research, ne?
Yes.
But I truly believe it. In fact, I think I read it somewhere or I heard it somewhere that an average person in the world speaks one language.
Okay.
An average person. Majority of people.
Okay.
If you go to the US, you go to the UK.
But I'm not average.
Yeah, but I'm making the point. Exactly. That because you can speak 2 languages, you are already above most people. So you are not average. Actually, we are not that bad. At least we can speak 2, which is, we can't say the same about majority of the people in the world.
Mina ngiyoniyeka ni convinceane. Inkinga zenu ezenu, mina inkinga zami ezami.
No, well done, but umele sifundise sibuwe na.
Yeah, mahala ke dlale ruta.
So which show did Patrick Bogatsu offer you? Mauqala,
The same show I'm doing today, the past 6 years ago, I'm still on that same show.
Wow.
So even Nasenanda didn't move on. I was still doing one show every Sunday. So I guess I'm a weekend guy.
Yeah.
The weekend boyfriend.
But in fact, the fact that you have touched on that, do you have aspirations and ambitions to move to weekdays?
Look, I'm not gonna say no, and I'm not also gonna say yes, depending on the guy who's running the station. If they feel that there is something that I can do to better the station, because it's not about me, it's about the station and also making the station sound the way the program manager wants it to sound.
Let me talk to...
as long as I'm enjoying...
Let me talk to Daviola the Dreamer now.
The Dreamer, yeah.
Not Daviola who's on Vuma FM.
Okay.
When you had that eagerness of wanting to get into radio, which shows did you imagine yourself doing?
This one I'm doing.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I think that it goes back to that thing I was talking about. Character. Understand your character. Sometimes everybody who wants to be a musician, they see themselves as Mariah Carey or any other musicians that up there. But if your voice is very wide, you stick to being a Barry White because you can't hit those high notes.
Let me share an exciting story with both of you, because radio for me, it's just radio. I love radio. I used to listen to Eddie Zondi when he was doing the early morning show on Metro.
On Metro, okay.
That's the show that made Eddie Zondi, 3 to 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Oh.
Many people bamaze singing on Sundays, but that's the show he was doing. And now that was the Eddie Zondi I knew.
That you know, yes.
And then I remember this particular time, I don't even forget this show. I think because it was the first time I never heard him again. I think he was the only person who was available when Eddie Zondi stood in on the drive for Azania.
I think I remember that.
I remember that show. I don't forget it.
I think I remember
It was too
And then
much.
the next thing on the drive, it was Eddie Zondi. All the way to 6. And it was the one show that he didn't live.
And it never...
And it stuck on my head.
Yeah.
You know, it was amazing to listen to Eddie Zondi on the drive.
But you see, that's what I'm saying, that it depends on the program manager. If probably they missed that show. So
and he never did it again. There's a reason.
No, man, he was standing in.
There's a reason he never stood in again.
but I also say, depending on the market, because stations we targeting whatever market, and if the bosses, because it always goes back to if the bosses feel that you're good for whatever, and they have a reason. Yeah.
Now, because you have tasted community radio and you have spent time on community radio and then you move to commercial, let us help the young guys who are in community radio.
Okay.
Now, the switch over from community to commercial, things are done differently in these two platforms. Probably at Inanda FM, you were preparing your own show, your own music, your own interviews. It's just me thinking. Maybe now you your music is pre-selected by your music compilers and so on. But let me allow you, because you are in that space. For educational purposes, that community radio trains you, but when you move to commercial, there are certain things that you need to adjust to.
Commercial. Okay, let me start with Nand. I learned a lot in terms of how to conduct myself on radio. I think luckily I'm not a reckless someone. In my entire career, probably I was suspended once. Nakona, it was Ananda. Nakona, I don't even remember what. I think it had to do with my producer. It had nothing to do with me. So you learn how to conduct yourself. So there were people in Ananda that were suspended many a times. So you learn how to conduct yourself, how to mic technique, your music. Sometimes you learn also that the music that you play is not about you, it's about the listener. So you learn all those basics. And also production sometimes, because hey, commercial, you have a producer. Ngale, you have to come up with content, all that. So I think it's good for young people to start at community level. Because sometimes at commercial, there's no time to teach. That's why it's best to start at community, so that you make the mistakes and then you learn from your mistakes. Because the other side, there's no time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the show that you do now. Well, you've been doing on since Ufika Vuma.
Yep.
Abaglalelayo babiza ko Mr. D. Your weekend boyfriend.
Yes.
Are you our boyfriend too, or only ladies?
It depends. If you want,
Whoever wants.
handle it. If you can handle it, it's okay.
So, my guy, I said earlier on, actually, let me go back to the introduction. I said in the introduction, majority of the people that will be watching this episode, and I'll monitor it, majority of the people that will be watching this episode are women.
Yes.
Is that true? Do you believe that majority of people that listen to your show are women?
Yeah, I guess. But can I be honest? When I'm in the studio, I don't think like that. I just think I'm just doing it to whoever's listening. Because how I see radio is like I'm talking to one person.
Sure.
On the other side, who's listening, I don't know. But it seems like a lot of ladies are listening, because the response comes from the ladies. And if that's what God sent me to do and deliver a message to the ladies, let it be so. That's how I look at it.
What do you attribute that to? Because every time when I listen to you,
I think also my style of presenting, maybe it goes back to that. I wanna be your friend.
okay,
I wanna be in your space. Feel what you are feeling. If you are not feeling okay, come. Let's give me your energy. I'll give you my energy, so that you feel good. Because me, I draw inspiration from the music. That's why for me, music is more important on a radio show, because it speaks to the listener. But the main person, it's me. I'm getting healed. And if I'm getting healed, the healing goes both ways. Because what I'm about to say comes from the music. So that's the language that I use when I'm on the show. Yeah.
You've got a Saturday and a Sunday show. How are those two shows different? How do they differ?
Okay, the Saturday, because people are all over the place. Some they're going to funerals, some they're going shopping, but most, I would say 70% probably they're in a good mood. So the music has to be a bit up, down, up, down. But Sunday, because now we probably had a long weekend, we just need to probably relax and be with family, travel from our destinations, from holidays. We're trying to we gather our thoughts for Monday. So let's tone things down. so that we get ready for Monday. That's how I sort of conceptualize the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great stuff. And how is your show, the Sunday one, different from other Sunday shows?
Other Sunday shows.
Yeah. Can I just give you context?
Okay.
The reason I'm asking the question is because you hear a lot of people saying Sunday shows are the same.
Yeah.
But when you really listen, they're not really the same because of course their features and all of that. But the music might be similar. So how does your show differ from others?
I'm gonna go back to, we go through so much from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to Saturday. We go through so much. Somehow Sunday, I take it as a detox of everything that you have been going through. You just need someone to tell you that it's gonna be okay. I look at it that way, and to me it makes sense because as in Insugu, you need a day that you can detox. That's how I look at it. So that's the whole Sunday thing.
Sure.
That someone is doing something, I don't know why. It's beyond me. But this is how I see it. Yeah. That's why I don't even consider other radio stations when I'm doing what I do.
Sure.
Yeah. Because they have their own reasons of doing what they're doing. Yeah.
Do you have children?
Yeah, I do have. Oh, love my boy is 16. My girl, 8. So yeah, only 2 that I know of.
Yeah. That you know. Yeah. Interesting. Eh?
You're a busy man.
Life of a DJ, eh?
No, man.
It's life of a DJ. That's a life of a DJ, man. I'm glad I'm not a DJ. Okay, so if your boy who's 16 now had to tell you that he wants to go and study radio after matric, what would you say?
I think, in fact, I've already gave him a chance to come with me to the studio, just to observe and see, because that's the age that when I made my decision to this radio thing, I was around that age. So he gave me an impression that, not for me. He likes the other side of me, which is the design, the building, construction. He likes that side. So I think I'm covered to say, not interested.
If he was interested?
Look, I would tell him that, look, it's your choice and I'll support you.
Considering that you said, you chose to pursue...
Yeah, I'll give him the same advice to say...
It's so unstable.
Yes, I will also tell him, it's best you give someone the best of both worlds, to say, look, the downside and the upside, so that they can make their own informed decision. And obviously where you can guide, you guide.
I get you. Yeah.
Cool. Let's move on to interior designing. You good with that?
Yeah.
So you do... Wait, maybe let me first start here. I don't know, where does that interest come from? And the reason I'm asking this is because as Black people, when you say interior designing, into zabalungu lezo, izinto zabantu abanemali,
It's a no-brainer. It's very easy, that one, because when I was younger, I was looking at my own family, and I aspire to live a certain life and be comfortable, especially with indawo ohlala kuyona. And I understood that our parents, most of our parents, they had it tough growing up. They didn't have a lot, and they wanted to live a certain life. So that on its own, it was an inspiration to say, ayikho into ebalulekile than where uhlala khona, to be comfortable. So that drove me to say, you need to do stuff that helps people to be comfortable. Because la uhlala khona, isofa unje, this is part of interior. I wouldn't be sitting here doing this podcast and I'm not comfortable. So comfort helps the mind, the body, the soul. So that's how I made make an easier decision to do the interior design. That's how I sort of looked at the family setup. Yeah, and I love being comfortable.
Sure.
Yeah.
So interior designing, it's that from the home you. So I'm talking about you now.
Yes,
Daviola.
like
So you do work for people. Let's say I just bought a house, and I want you to assist me in making this space comfortable and attractive.
Yeah.
And also then you also do corporate. So is that what you do?
Yes, that's what I do. Basically is you call me, probably you bought a new house and you don't know what to do. You've probably been browsing magazines and for someone who doesn't even know what to do, even if you're looking at a picture, how do you bring the picture to your house? It's not easy. You might paint, but sometimes the paint is so horrible, you don't even know what type of paint. So I get into details of this paint is for here. There's enamel paint, there's PVA, there's primer. You don't know which one is which one. So that's why I come in now with my expertise to help you that, okay, Kuzo, what's going to be happening in this room? For example, a lot of times you walk into somebody's bathroom, you look up, they've used the wrong paint for the ceiling in the bathroom because steam sits on the ceiling because the steam doesn't even know where to go. Because sometimes we are yes, we ngavuli window, but that's probably not enough. You must add an extractor. You must understand all these nitty-gritties. Yeah, well, that's where I come in with my specialty. And colors, for example. Hey, ngizosiza na like I'm just saying, guys, like yeah, but sometimes yabona ukuthi hey le couch beyichipile sabuya sathatha sahlanganisa yabo. To me, when I come in, I look at stuff like that. Does this match with this? Yeah, so all those things, they're very important. And I know maybe after this podcast, a lot of people want to invite me in their houses, but it's okay. But yeah, that's how
the coffee table I have my couch.
But that's where I come in. That's why I get knowledge is power. There's something also that's close to my heart. I always wanted to talk about is knowledge, especially when emalokishini. I buy a shower band in terms of, in fact, I would say they get robbed because izinto abayisebenzisayo for their houses. Sometimes ngoba upenda 300 rand, yes, that's not mad. But sometimes if you can save up for a better paint and right preparation, because painting, when you paint, you need to prepare. Your wall needs to be a certain degree of smoothness. Smooth, but it needs to be even no more apply lupend. So all those things, it's knowledge. So you engage with someone who knows about these things. Some people abanye bafundele endlini zabantu. Yes, bafundele endlini zabantu. They're spoiling something that was gonna come out very nice. So things like that. And for example, studios, you need to understand what absorption is. Like masikhuluma kanje, sound isebenza kanjani, what panels you must have, all those things, so that there's no reflection, there's no echo. So it's very detailed. Sure. And obviously we studied some of these things, but some things are very basic. It's even the hardwares that emalokishini mawuya sometimes I remember I was doing something ekhaya. I went to a local hardware. The guy had the nerve to tell me that ayikho lo pendo ufunayo, nithina sebenzisa lo, why ufuna lo? And I looked at him, I'm like, dude, I know my stuff. So you can see that, for example, if umuntu ongazi ulimele.
Yeah, but sometimes I think when we go to different outlets outside of just interior designing, we are dealing sometimes with just a salesperson.
Yes.
You know, I've worked as a salesperson.
Eish, they wanna sell, eh?
In a furniture shop for that matter.
You.
And now my interest is mainly on selling these couches. You know?
Whether they fit.
All I need to I need you come with your door size. So I just want to make sure that it will fit through the door.
Thank you.
So that is why now you'll find sometimes you'll find around because of us.
That's part of space planning interior.
But now when you deal with people who are interior designers, they can tell you, no, actually your house needs one couch and an occasional chair. I understand it, but now because when I was a salesman, I make commission ngokuthi the whole sets.
Yeah.
So that is why ikanjalo. But without ukuthi si digress. Now your job as an interior designer. I want to find out for encouraging the younger people. Is it a space? Because now we want people to get into careers that can sustain them. We hear a lot about people who have started something. They are not employed. They are not even able to start something of their own. Is this a space that you can recommend for somebody who's young, who's in grade 11 now? It's something that you can look into.
I'm gonna say 100%. You know why? The population is growing. More buildings are being built. They're gonna need to be designed, and it will never stop.
Okay.
And you can go all over the world. You will still be relevant, especially if you are hands-on. Ungafuna ukuba uboss kuphela sometimes, because sometimes you have to get your hands dirty and do the work, and you will never ever run out of work.
Sure.
Yeah. So I've been in the industry. Have my own company for about almost 10 years now. Same with my radio career.
That's why you qualify to be a legend.
I have put a legend status.
Hey, I'm running away from status.
So uma ufunde interior designing, usuke uzoqashwa noma usuke uzoyiphatha?
I would advise that you start working for someone. Okay. I did the same as well. Even when I was doing Gagasi, the studios, I was employed, and later on, but I took a gap. I was a lecturer at some point for a short stint.
Okay.
I was lecturing drawing, and then I had to now decide. And then I decided to start my own business. And I learned a lot of things from my previous boss, even some of probably the mistakes that he was doing. I was also trying to fix them. Now I still have my own mistakes that I need to fix. But I'm growing.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. And then just last question on this. You mentioned what's abantu emalokishini bayarojwa ngabe behamba bayothenga. So kumuntu njengamanje osazosebenza endlini yakhe
oplanayo, yes.
What do I do to make sure ukuthi ngenza umsebenzi angirojwa one but also ngenza umsebenzi alright, anginayo imali? In my mind I can't afford an interior design. So what do I do?
Indaba yemali, let's start with that. There's a budget for everything. And sometimes umuntu angapainta ukuthi yena ufuna indlu enje, like they would tell you, hey, this big dream. Then you ask the word, what's the budget? Then you can see that the budget doesn't match the dream.
Sure.
So if they tell you the budget, then you give them what is equal to the budget.
Okay.
That's how I sort out that problem, because sometimes umuntu nama dreams are cool. But you can say, hey, but your budget, your accommodator, and then let's go to that level. Maybe they resist, you say, okay, can you probably save up, or I'll help you to get this much according to your budget. That's how you sort it out.
Okay. And so then ungarojwa.
sometimes get people that are reputable, that have done the job. Do your own homework. Check out references. People must take you to imisebenzi abayenzile, and I wish you could be someone who's very reputable, because even some of my own family members, they get robbed because sometimes I'm here, I can't help them that side, but sometimes I tell them that price they're giving you is too good to be true, and then they would go ahead, but that's their own own agenda. But sometimes it takes someone to really do their homework, to check umsebenzi womuntu, ama references. Go to 5. Don't just go to one house, just couple, just to make sure, especially if you are spending a lot of money, because money is very hard to come by. So it's very important.
100%.
Yeah.
That's what you were talking about, Uguti. You are a salesperson. Even myself, as someone that
Who's in sales?
well, not necessarily, but as someone that knows that someone is selling.
Yep.
But if I don't know much about that industry, for instance, cars, I don't know much about cars.
Yep.
Ngizohamba ngibuze yena lo mdayiselayo, wena usuggesta yiphi? I know which is suggest something.
Ulimele.
But because I don't know better,
Yeah.
I'd rather ask someone.
Yeah, rather bring someone who's in that field. Kwa mina, sometimes when I'm facing a project, like for example, I've designed banks, I've designed studios, I've designed houses. I'm thinking if somebody would say design a mortuary, I go in and research. The problem with people is research. We carry nice phones that have internet, that have everything that we can research, but we don't.
We don't use it.
We use it for social media instead, only sometimes. So sometimes do your own research. Like as I'm saying, if I have to do a mortuary, I'll go in detail, even visit mortuaries. Like for example, if you want to do your house, go physically and check houses that probably your friends or someone, look at how things are done. Sometimes, hey, you walk into a house, a ceiling is not level. Because I have a trained eye, I see it from just standing here. I'll tell you that the ceiling is not level.
You're not coming to my house, my guy.
No, but I'm just saying. Okay. I end there.
Yeah, no, but we are learning.
Yeah,
No, definitely.
We
It's
are learning.
that's why I'm saying it's something that's very close to my heart. At some point, we'll get to a point where, as a nation, we teach each other. I don't know everything. I learn, even sound. I love sound because it's something that I also ask friends that know how to sound engineer to help me with things. That's where I'm at. We'll learn until we die.
Sure,
definitely.
That's important.
Yeah, no, my guy. I think we've come to an end of our
Oh,
chat.
thank you.
Time
is done. Oh,
Time is done.
guys, I'm used to doing a 4-hour show, so I can go on for another 3
But
hours.
it's not a talk show. It's a musical show.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, you've been with Vuma for quite some time.
Yes.
Said this question for last. What are the future plans? Are you looking? Let me ask it this way.
Yeah.
You've done community.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're doing a regional commercial radio station.
Yep.
The next step is national. It may be national PBS, national commercial. What's your next step?
I receive what you're saying. I receive. Amen.
What are your plans?
Oh, my plans. My plans. Look,
guy.
I'm enjoying myself, and I've learned that even when I spoke, I said, when the time is right and the timing, it will happen. I still stay on that statement.
Sure.
Yeah.
What time are we catching you on radio?
2 to 6 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. I'm gonna be your weekend boyfriend. Join me on Vuma FM.
Weekend boyfriend.
Yep.
There was a time when I was listening to you, just when the shows were exchanging. This is my last question.
Okay.
And then there was a conversation between yourself and your colleague. Sometime, I think it's about 3 months ago.
Okay.
A conversation between you and your colleague, the female before you. And she said she was wowed because you were wearing bright colors on that day because you are always wearing black. I remember that conversation well. So is that true? You're always wearing black? Because she said, wow, today you are wearing something with color.
Yeah, I remember. I think I was wearing something with more yellow. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
But there was black on it.
But is it true that you are always wearing black?
It is true.
Yeah.
It is true. I'm fascinated by black.
Okay, so that is what is in your wardrobe. That is what you.
Yeah, if I'm ashamed if I open my wardrobe, it doesn't have color. It's only black.
Okay. So,
but in a good way. In a good way. I think it goes back to the very same statement when I started. I said, know your character and be comfortable with certain things. And I'm very, very, very comfortable with black.
I get you.
Yeah. And if something works for you, this has probably nothing to do with any other person. It's something that speaks to me direct.
Yeah.
And I feel so happy with black. And I think I look good in black.
You look good in
fact, I look good.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
No, Daviola, thank you so much, my guy, for coming through.
No, I really appreciate guys.
Yeah, it's been a great one.
Yeah, thank you guys. I didn't think I can speak this long because I'm a very shy someone.
We don't believe you. You're on radio. People on radio are shy. They love talking.
But they always say they shy.
They always say
They always say they shy.
No, guys, you guys made it so comfortable. I really appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for watching yet another episode of Podcast Radio and Stuff. Daviola, thank you so much, my guy, for coming through. Let's catch you again on the next episode. Thanks to the gents that are recording us. We've got Kutluano, Lindo, and Spokespe. So thanks, gents. Thanks for making us look so good. Let's catch up again on the next video.